Hello, everyone. We're back with page 12. This follows the last one, obviously, page 11. Um, sort of the idea is they're back on neighborhood watch, um, sort of in story keeping with, or I should say, um, where we are as far as the rest of the stories go. This is, let me think. I think this should be the night. I just had this in my head. Yeah, this should be the night he goes out with, this should be the night Brody goes out with Tyler and they sort of rough up the thugs. So for reference, um, this is the day that he got the call from Jason saying that Russ never made it home, and later in the night when he gets back from neighborhood watch, he'll find Jason sitting on the couch. What is going on? Oh, here's the picture. So I've already got the characters sort of redressed in this set. I'm already rendering the picture. And it's always like always, every time I switch sets, I've got to make sure that character outfits match up. Sometimes I get working on I get thinking on like so many different things. Sometimes like it's the outfit, the shirt that gets missed. But there's Elliot in the green shirt, and the great thing every time I bring Marcel into this, sort of the great thing about him from Brody's book is that most of the time we only see him either in his gym clothes or his bouncer uniform. So when I want to pop him in outside of those scenarios, I'm pretty much free with what I can dress him in. I don't have too much matching up to do. Um, and the thing about him placing him in all this is just like let me think. It's just like with Brody because he's got a night job and they're probably sleeping late into the day. Um, it's like in head canon, anytime I have them out at night outside of work, I've got to make sure I can rationalize it in my head. So, like on these night watches, um, I can always say he's going out doing night watch early in the evening and then heading off to work late. So we've got plenty of time to change because when I think as we see here when Brody gets back. Um, Brody gets back. Marcel is in his bouncer outfit, so I think in headcanon he took the night off while Marcel went to work. And if I remember from Tyler's story, let's see, where the book? If I remember from Tyler's story, Brody hits him up to go out pretty much after the neighborhood watch did. Okay, and I was just thinking too, I'm like, oh my god. The idea is that this, I was just thinking as I'm going through this with you guys that, we're a couple of days past that meeting, and for some reason I thought that in their stories, this outing occurred at the end of the day. The idea is that he missed that meeting and then comes at the end of the day, but I kind of just noticed while I'm going through this that that's not the case because he tells him, I'm sorry I didn't go to your meeting the other day, not this morning. So it's clear. So I ended up catching that when I was doing Tyler's story. That this outing, in fact, does not occur the same night as their first neighborhood watch meeting. So you see the kind of thing, the kind of landmines I have to go through with this story. And it would have been so much easier if I just bit the bullet and had these stories occurring one after the other instead of occurring side by side. So you see the kind of challenges I'm dealing with in this awesome storytelling. Um, Let me think. And I'm sitting here telling stories and I forget exactly what I was going to have him say. Uh, Basically, Marcel's line is going to be an introduction to the page because I'm in a way this page here is going to mirror um, it's going to mirror this one. Not exactly mirror, but the idea is that this one, that they're on neighborhood watch. Elliot's going to see a couple of people and go taking off after them, just like Brody and Brody and Tyler are doing. So it's like coming off the previous page. I don't want to immediately jump into like, hey, what are those people? You need sort of a transitional line to introduce the page. And two, if I have Marcel talking about what's going on with Brody, it sort of puts this story into the other three a little bit more. Whoops! And every time I come into a new page, I forget to put the caps lock on. And while I'm thinking of that too, I am curious. It's not going to matter as far as canon goes, but I am curious if. Um, what am I thinking? I am curious if. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, I was going to say. I'm such a numpty. I'm sitting here thinking, wondering if I ever had Russ come face to face with the kids, but you know, I forgot that scene where they're making the bargain for the ink. Hmm. No, you know what? His family. Let's see, and I need to bring the bowl down so I can see. Let's see. This text bubble is going a little bit longer than I had initially planned, but I think if we get a little bit more of a candid talk, it'll make him feel more like he's a piece of the story than just window dressing. I mean, either one, actually. You know, whether it's Marcel as the window dressing or the brief scene with Russ. Let's see. It looked like he needed a vacation. He looked like he needed a vacation from. Uh, oh my God! Excuse me. Yeah. Why don't we just say Brody? Oops. Let's see. Come on. Stop that. Let's see. There we go. It's a somewhat square, or square enough, even though it doesn't give me much room. But okay. Control C that. Edit paste as new layer. Select none. So I want this to be, or this page, or maybe not this. I don't know if it's this page. The way I'm going with this line, I feel like I may just have them talk for a page before getting to. Before getting to the action bit. Um, but I don't know. I'm not sure what purpose that's going to serve. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure if the idle chit chat is going to um, add anything to the story. Let's see. was going to say, here's an example of where I don't really need to sit and pose them completely, because I wasn't exactly going to get a wide shot, but I'm thinking I'm going to grab a wider shot on him than I originally planned. So the feet, so at least, so I might not see his feet, but I'm probably going to see his calves a little bit. So I need to make it look like they're at least posed properly. So I have a feeling I'm going to see him, so he should be looking a little different too. I don't know why I really want the flashlight in, but that's what I'm determined to get in this scene. And because I'm at the end of the world here, I'm trying to think. I want an angle that. I'm not really happy with the angles here. I mean, this is an example of where I don't need the whole picture to look perfect, because this, probably like this much is going to get cut off. But I was kind of hoping. Yeah, actually, I can go that much. If I drag him over here, okay. I do want to look up. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, we'll get that heroic upward-looking pose. I don't want him looking at the camera. Let's see. Actually, where's this page? This one? No, it's this one. Oh, that one. Um, let's see. I guess it doesn't really matter. And I'm so focused on this. Did I actually? Okay, so this is right. That looked good to me. New layer. What just happened? Oh, I guess everything froze while it's starting to render. Okay, that looks good. It's nice and square. Oops, I forgot to move that bolt. I know this is only like halfway through the second part, and you're not going to notice this just from watching the videos, but you might notice, but you might have noticed this sort of reading stories in the past, reading past stories, or like by the time you read this one, since these will probably go up after the story gets posted, but um, you might notice like the narrative text tends to be heavy early in the story and kind of fades away later in the story. At least to me, it feels like you almost get a narrative text box every other page in the first part of some of these stories, where I make heavy use of the narrator, and then sort of by the last part, you probably only get like maybe 2 text boxes because that narrative voice just kind of fades away. And it's not really something that gets planned. It's not something intentional. It's one of those things that just happens, and primarily because um, it's primarily because early in the story you sort of need the narrator to set things up, to sort of to sometimes, when I've got the narrator as a character, um, sometimes the narrator needs to drive the story early on because the characters are kind of still finding their feet. Whereas once the story gets going, the characters end up moving the story completely on their own, and I don't really need that narrative voice. So he just sort of gets used less and less. So it's already here in part 2. I probably don't even have half the narration that I did in part 1. Invert, select, shrink. Merge down. Oh. Okay. File. Open as layers. Let's see. Come on, there we go. Scale layer 34. Oh, shoot. Darn it. And you can see there's nothing there. Um, what do you think? If I bring him all the way to the edge, what do you think? This is what I'm going to have to. So if he's all the way to the edge, that would mean the picture sits here, and I get what I want. Okay. So I'm going to re-render this. I'm going to call this Alt because I don't exactly want to delete the old picture. This is going to be one of those rare instances where I keep the picture that I don't use just in case. Because if that doesn't work, what I'm going to do is keep this picture and retrim both of these so that this one gets cut here and this one gets cut here instead. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to adjust this. I had this perfect and now I forgot to add something. A little bit of excitement. Okay. Okay, so they can really. Okay, so I'm going to cut this, edit piece as layer, select none. Control C that, edit paste as layer. Merge that down. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just bring this up and this up. There. There. Okay. And then what I got to do is I need to make sure it's vertical, and I'm just going to do that and anchor it. Okay. This isn't so bad. So the buildings on this side of the street I acquired. Um, I didn't make the buildings on this side of the street, and because this storefront is a texture, and all these doors, windows, etc., aren't actually modeled, I was a little nervous it would look kind of odd, but once it's on the page, you don't even notice it. It looks absolutely fine. There's my picture. Save that. File, open as layers. And there's 30 alt. I'm going to delete this because I can always bring it back if I change my mind. Layer, scale, 34. Okay, and I think, yeah, this is better. Nope, I cut you here, didn't I? Oh, no, I cut it in the middle. Okay. I'm going to say, if this little strip of black is there, that's fine, because then it looks, because I don't see the street, it'll look like it's just the gap between buildings. So that wouldn't have been fatal. None. Okay. Now normally I would have set these guys up before even starting the scene, but I didn't. These are a pair of unnamed characters. Zoom in. Let's see. 90 degrees? Yeah. And let's see. I think we want them more on the side, closer to the road. Let's see. And it's sort of, while this page will sort of parallel the scene that's going on in Brody and Tyler's story. This one's going to be different in that these are basically just two random people out. Let's see, it's just a man and woman out for a walk, whether they're husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or just two platonic friends. uh, just two platonic friends out enjoying a nice summer night. Let's see. So the idea being that we're in the other scene, their sort of rashness allowed the bad guys to go free after the police took them in. Here, his rashness is going to have him almost beating up two innocent people. And it's kind of the idea with all this is that because this is supposed to be our heroes sort of um, it's the neighborhood watch idea has them almost as vigilantes, but like I, I don't really want to portray that this is what goes on in a neighborhood. That this is what goes on in a neighborhood watch. People going around beating up anybody who quote unquote doesn't belong in their neighborhood. But B, the idea that like these things can go horribly wrong very quickly. Okay, so from that angle, you don't see the girl. That's good. So it's almost like use the neighborhood watch idea to show our heroes becoming vigilantes and fighting crime and all that, but at the same time, because they make these mistakes every time it seems like they make these mistakes every time they go out. I'm sort of like, I'm not offering an endorsement for this. It's like, let's see. I'm not really sure. I want a wide shot so that you don't see who it is. Even though these two have no names, as you can see, they're basically male and female. Let me see. Okay, you know what? Um, I just took off the camera, and the perspective view is focused on the inside of the warehouse. If you're curious, this is what's inside that that building. Zoom out a bit because it's an abandoned warehouse. It's basically empty shelving with a lot of junk and debris. Not a lot of junk, but there's the truck that the bad guys were using at the end of Tyler's story. But since at this point in the universe, they're still operating out of the office building, the truck's gonna stay in there where nobody can see it. Let's see. Oops, these buildings are gonna be in my way. Okay, he's pointed towards those people. The idea is I want him running towards those people, not like 2 degrees, or like 10 degrees off, and then have to correct it when I get over there. So now we're going to create a ridiculous running pose. Let's see. Aren't used. Let's take that off. Da, da, da. This is a lesson in why why you shouldn't play vigilante. Let's. He's leaning over too much. And I may do this a wide shot. That's what I'm thinking. If I end up seeing space over here, that's not going to be fatal to the shot. That could just be part of the yard. And one thing I'm going to do here is layer the heck out of the scene. So let's collapse everyone and do this a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to put all of these in here, make them go away. Let's see. And what do we have outdoor? Structure, ground. Okay, so I'm going to do this in pieces. Let's take the ground. Make the road invisible, right? And use the lines now. Okay, what am I missing? Shoot. Oh, I see. Do all these separately. Okay, so we'll renumber that one A and render. And I can do this while I'm waiting. Oops. What are you doing? Yeah, because I got a lot of space to work with, we're going to make the text just a little bigger. Okay, that works. Layer, transform. Oops. And trim this a little bit. What did I do? I'm on the wrong layer. Okay, edit. Cut. What are you doing? I think that's my picture. No. Almost. So you down here somewhere. Da, da, da. I can make this wider. So I'm going to go Control C on that. Edit. Paste as. New layer. Select none. Oh my god. I keep ending on the wrong layer. Okay. Control C that. Select none. Okay, so merge down. Now I have my picture. Save. Hopefully. Let me bring the markings back. The road. but the rest of these can go invisible, as well as the curb and the fencing, and oh my god, outdoor. Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to do all of these. Come on, what are you doing? Downside is because all of these are in pieces, everything's gotta be done. Furniture, doors, and the van. Okay, let's see. Now let's bring these people out. I'll render that as B. Render. Now let's come over here and give this one its black border. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is going to give me the effect I want. I could end up going through all this work and just decide it doesn't work and then shoot the scene in one piece and not even bother with the blurring. Um, let's go open. There's A. I can minimize that. Come on. There we go. There's the road with people. Open as layers. Okay. And now the last one will be doors. We put all this. No, I don't want all this back on. What am I doing? I'm jumping the gun here. Let's put the people back in, and now I want the Elliot under. Oops, gotta take the road off too. Building the ground. I'll just make that go away. Actually, you know what? I'll make this easy later. Make everything visible, and then just turn it off there. Okay. And then this is going to be C. So, fingers crossed here, we're going to go filter, blur, Gaussian, and I think I'm going to get 3. Okay, yeah, 3 works. And we'll go filter, blur, Gaussian, 1.5. The idea is they should be blurred as much, but I want them to stand out just a little bit so we don't blur them quite as much. Which is why I left the road in their layer, because I want the road slightly blurred, but not that much. And there's Elliot. Now, Elliot's the one that's going to let's see, what do I want to do with Elliot? I think we want to go linear motion. That way a little bit. I'm trying to think. How much can I exaggerate this? 50. Okay, and then I'm going to add, let's see. I'm going to put another layer and we'll close it. And then we will move him. This is where it kind of becomes a little implausible. um, I'm going to try this again. File, open as layers. Off. Let's try exaggerating this a little bit more. Linear motion. That's a little better. Okay, yeah, that works. I think. Let's delete this one. Image, flatten, file, export as, take off the letter and hit enter. Scale, 44. Okay, let's save this while we're thinking about it. Save as page 12. 12. Enter. Okay. And now I gotta bring everything back into the picture. There we go. And now where are my people? Parent. Oops, what just happened? Oh, I didn't grab that. Come on. Ah. Oops, and I still have him off a little. Oh well. It's not gonna matter. Let's see. Delete keys. Now, Control D gets into the folder. Now, thing is, let's see. I want it to look like he's about to hurt this guy. So the question is, how far do I have him go? Because he's only got one hand free as well, so I could have him picking up the guy. Actually, because I want more room to work with the camera around the sign, let's make like they moved a little bit while he crossed the road. I don't think I'm going to have this go too far. We'll just put his hand on him. I think this comes back just a little. Let's see. And then on top of all that, I think we're going to put the flashlight in his face. And we're going to keep the girl off screen for a little bit more longer. Let's call this 32. Okay, I think that works. Let's see. Else. And we're gonna put that back to size 10. Okay. There we go. Sit down. Oh, I ended up making 2 copies of that. Okay. So, if it gets posted or not, in the video on page 11, I was talking about, like, kind of getting distracted with this other idea for a short story. And so I kind of do, like, between playing around with characters and sort of imagining scenarios and that sort of thing. Um, I think I talked previously about this idea for a story called Burn Pit. I think was an old one. And there's one premise I've come up with recently. Not a full blown story, but a premise. And I guess and I'm not really sure if maybe it is a little uh, odd. Shoot, select, invert, Control C, and then edit, paste as layer. And I'll delete that one. Invert and edit, cut. So the premise. So I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me if it's just a little. Well, if it kind of pushes the envelope a little too much. Um, I already inverted that, right? Yeah, okay. But the premise would be a guy goes back in time and kidnaps his younger self. Probably maybe like his teen or his early teen self, and brings him back to his present. Um, Sort of like the idea would be to get him out of a bad family situation. He thinks that if he can raise himself without like that baggage, things might turn out differently. And I suppose, like in keeping with the genre, the idea is that, like the flimsy excuse for the transformation would be that being out of time altered his body. So I think the idea is that this character later in life has sort of taken up weightlifting, but he figures like at the same time, if he gets his younger self into it, then like his younger self could get further along. And I think where it ties in is where it sort of ties in with the idea is that the flimsy excuse is hmm, the idea is that being out of time or something accelerates. What did I just do? Edit, undo. Accelerates his progress. Either that, or it's a long term story where it's a realistic, where it's not a fantastic. Maybe yeah. Some brainstorming here. I've gone beyond laying out the premise to brainstorming, but maybe the idea is that it's a long term story where it's a realistic muscle growth story instead of a fantasy. So you see, so like you kind of flash forward to a young adult where he's put on the size that his older self thought he could. Or maybe, if you want to go fantasy, maybe it's like the being out of time, being a person out of in the wrong time or whatever, like is the magical catalyst. But where I say it probably crosses a line is the idea of kidnapping a child in the first place. I'm not sure. I think that's what keeps me from brainstorming. It is like I can't really get past that the idea of kidnapping a child no matter what is just sort of on the other side of wrong. Let's see. And this is where I forgot to paste the layer. So we'll just do that. None. And now here's where we see the girl. And again, she's not a character. She's this untitled one-off. So we've never seen her before. So it's not like when I pop in our two villainesses in the coffee shop every day. These are just random people on the street. We want to make it look like she's fighting, so I know her stance. Let's see. This is kind of a weird shot of his butt. Um, we'll take it this way. Let's take the right eye. It's a very weird shot with his butt, but oh well. Maybe somebody will get a kick out of it. Um, Zoom out just a little. You want space for the word bubble without really getting a decent shot of her. So that new layer. So I guess we've decided that they're boyfriend and girlfriend, not husband or wife, or not platonic. They're not platonic. So we'll go with boyfriend girlfriend. Maybe this shared experience will cement their relationship. Okay. Down. Uh, I guess I'm still a long ways off from really needing another project like that. It'll be a couple of months before this series is done. Maybe just maybe a little bit longer because I'm really thinking of spending a week or so to do a teddy bear for you guys on Patreon after this story. Let's see. And then if nothing else grabs my attention, I may end up finally taking on Burn Pit. But that's a big maybe. Um, oops. This one seems to be taking longer than usual. But oh well. I guess you get the idea with this page. I don't really have enough to talk about to keep this interesting for the probably next minute or two that I'm going to wait. And it doesn't seem worthwhile coming back just to put up one picture. So I'm going to call this video quits here because I think you get the idea. And despite the moments of silence, I hope you enjoyed that one. And we'll see you next time.